What is going on, AFW faithful? This is your commissioner, Mr. Down the Middle, Dylan Gilbert here, with another edition of AFW Uncaged. We're going to stick with the face camera. This will be the second part of our Halloween special, if you will. The last one we did the NECA Toonie Terrors with three of my absolute favorite horror characters. This one is less of a horror character in the traditional sense, and this one we're going back to our wrestling roots. This one's been out a little bit, but I've kicked the tires on this one for quite a while, and I'm glad I finally snagged it because it just looks so good in hand. We're going to be opening up the WWE Ultimate, the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. Absolutely stunned that, Wyndham Rotunda, Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, whatever you choose to call him, is no longer with WWE. Can't wait to see where he goes. Hopefully, wherever he ends up, they let him just have creative freedom to do these kind of incredibly weird gimmicks like he did with The Fiend. That I think, though mismanaged at times, I absolutely loved the character. I loved like what they were trying to accomplish with it, and when they really just let Bray have fun, it definitely came through. Like you could tell, his heart might not have always been in the backwoods gimmick. His heart was in this so much, and it was so apparent. And like you had those flashes in his original gimmick where like you could tell that was definitely him. I feel like a ton of this like Firefly Funhouse and The Fiend was just all him. And so I'm just ecstatic we've got such a great representation of this character. As we've discussed in the previous like Ultimate unboxings, at the top and bottom you get like the catchphrases. So of course, let me in, and we'll flip it over. Yowie wowie. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this out. Being super careful with like the unpackaging of this one, just because like I love that ultimate packaging. I'll most likely never repack them, but for whatever reason I want to hold on to these boxes. So just an initial look, we've got the figure itself with the ultimate articulation, and then we've got the extra head here. We've got the jacket like vest part, and then the arms to do the entrance. And then the part that made this like a must-have for me, because I think they did a great job with the Elite, which I've got an entire Bray Wyatt shelf in my my display. But to get such a great representation of this belt, I believe it was designed by Tom Savini. I'm almost positive, but I'm going to leave that little bit of unsureness in case I am wrong. Please don't destroy me in the comments. But I mean, Tom Savini as a horror guy, he's just so highly regarded. And so to have his hand on this belt and the mask and everything, like, pretty incredible. I love that they did such a great job of capturing like the 3D element of this. It could have very easily been like one of these things that they just like did a flat piece, but like they actually captured like the lettering and everything, leather, to make it look like it is literally just pulled right off of the face of the Fiend itself. And then we're going to go ahead and just get to the figure itself. Gosh, hopefully the packaging noise doesn't come through. Never quite get used to it. The figure itself, I think, is just phenomenal. I like that they captured the essence, obviously, of the mask. I like having the butterfly joints so that I could pose him in all kinds of crazy scenarios. Because this I mean, this character is just too good for figure photography not to have just 1,000 different poses. But I mean, they nailed the likeness. The tattoos look super good. I like the straps on the backs of the boots here have like the pieces that stick out. You've just kind of got that, like, I mean, he essentially like is a horror movie villain kind of incarnate when you put him in the ring. So we'll just put this terrifying masterpiece right there, and we will pop out the extra head here, which depicts a little bit more of a interesting side of the Fiend where he sticks the tongue out, which I've always loved. I'm glad we're getting that head, because like the Elites had a very similar head to this, so to have something different with the Ultimate here, I think was a great touch. And now we're going to get to the jacket and the arms for the entrance attire, which is how I'm going to pose this one in particular. I was a little, I'm not going to say disappointed. I was a little kind of just like shocked that we didn't get the lantern in this one, because I love what they did with the lantern that, you know, shaped like the old Bray Wyatt head. I thought that was a really cool touch. But if you've bought the original Elite, try to keep the packaging away from the mic here. Sorry, guys. If you bought the original Fiend Elite, like myself, you will have that lantern. And because I'm, as much as I think they nailed like the look of this one for the like ring gear, there's not the like the praying hands that is very faint on like the t-shirt that he actually wore. And so I feel like with this one, I want to capture this in like the like perfect way. So we're going to go ahead and pop the arms off here and put the jacket piece on. And then we're going to go ahead and pop in the jacket arms, which again, I think Mattel did a fantastic job with the jacket arms, the double joint. And everything, you know, everything with these removable arms goes in very smoothly. That was my big concern, was that they weren't going to set in smoothly, but it looks great. You get that entrance attire with the long jacket, and then we will pop the head here to put the bonus head, which, moment of truth, is kind of a hard push on. Try not to give him giraffe neck, but I also don't want to damage the socket. There we go. And then we'll pose him the way that I feel like is kind of appropriate for this figure. We'll go ahead and wrap the title around the head like he did for the entrances, which is kind of ridiculous, but I also absolutely love it. I think that's going to be a fantastic addition to the figure shelf there. And then when you take it off, it's the Fiend with the tongue out. Man, he really, like, I've talked to some fans that hated this gimmick. I absolutely loved it. Like, as a fan of horror movies, as discussed in our last episode of Uncaged, like, I enjoy a good horror movie. I love slashers. I love that kind of feel. And to me, the Fiend was like the perfect mix of like a psychological horror, like a slasher character, but also just this, like, if you don't buy into the psychological parts of it, this is still a guy that you don't want to end up in a fist fight with, because he's got a different view on things and he's a little bit off. And I think it just made for such a great character. and I hope we see more of something like it wherever Wyndham Rotunda ends up. As a just huge Bray Wyatt fan, like all the way back. Glad that we got this figure with all of the detail, and just cannot wait to see what happens next for this man. So, for another episode of AFW Uncaged, I am your commissioner, signing out. Until next time, let him in.